The views expressed on the Final Straw Radio do not necessarily reflect those of Asheville FM, Friends of Community Radio, or any of the affiliate radio stations airing the show. Airing first on Asheville FM, WSFM LP at 103.3 FM in Asheville, North Carolina. This is The Final Straw, and I'm William Goodenough. The show will later be archived at thefinalstrawradio.noblogs.org, and you can email us with questions, comments, or suggestions at thefinalstrawradio@riseup.net. Also, if you're interested in rebroadcasting any episode or segment of the show, you're free to do so. Just send us an email if you end up using any content. If you care to, you can send us letters at our new address, which is The Final Straw Radio, P.O. Box 6004, Asheville, North Carolina 28816. The show is brought to you by Firestorm Books and Coffee. Located at 610 Haywood Road, Firestorm Books and Coffee is a worker-owned cooperative in Asheville specializing in offbeat, underground, and independent literature. You can find a sample of Firestorm's catalog of books and zines, plus a full calendar of events at their website, firestorm.coop. This week on The Final Straw, we're airing 3 international segments covering anarchist perspectives from the Rojava Revolution in Northern Syria, voices from the pirate Radio Klaxon on the ZAD, a land occupation in western France, and refugee solidarity and struggle on the border of Croatia and Bosnia in the Balkans. First, we'll hear an interview with an anarchist recently returned from Rojava, the autonomous regions in northwestern Syria, where an anti-capitalist, ecological, and feminist social revolution has been taking place while first fighting off Daesh or ISIS militants, and now those fighters being sent back in alongside troops from the fascist Turkish state under Erdogan. The interview was conducted by comrades from Cherna Lukna. Cherna Lukna is based in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and airs their content, sometimes in English, at radiostudent.si. If you like what you hear, check out the monthly English-language anarchist news podcast we in the A-Radio network collaborate on, called Bad News, Angry Voices from Around the World. Our latest episode can be found on our website or at a-radio-network.org. Next, we'll hear from Riot Turtle, an audio comrade involved in the anarchist media project Enough is Enough, based in Europe, recorded on June 17, 2018. In this segment, we hear audio from a village on the Bosnian and Croatian border. You'll hear the construction of refugee tents in the background while people from the SOS team, a local initiative to support refugees as they attempt to traverse the Balkan route from the south of Europe and toward the north, facing violence from police and border officials day to day. You'll also hear refugees speak about their journeys and the violence they've faced, as well as audio from tension on the border with authorities. To find out about how you can donate to these efforts, as well as more articles, video, and audio by comrades at Enough is Enough, you can visit their website, enoughisenough14.org, and search for Emergency Call SOS Team Bosnia. Finally, we'll hear a conversation we recorded a week before the second round of evictions at the ZAD in early May of 2018. The interview with Marcel and Camille, 2 names commonly used to anonymize folks speaking to the media on the ZAD, speak about the pirate radio station Klaxon that they have participated in for a long time. Klaxon folks talk about the role their station plays in amplifying the voices of people on the ZAD who might be intimidated from publishing their views on the website or in their newspaper or at public meetings because of intersections of class, race, gender, education, language, access, and such, as well as the role the station plays in resisting the evictions. You can hear Klaxon by visiting zad.nadir.org and click the listen link on the right side of the page. Just a heads up, it's in French.
We're back on air. International live broadcast of anarchist and anti-authoritarian radios from the studio in Berlin. We will now dedicate a few minutes to struggles in Rojava, parts of the revolutionary process there that is being attacked from many sides as we speak. Not a long time ago, a comrade was traveling through Europe, a comrade that was involved on the ground in Rojava. So he was on a speaking tour, speaking with comrades, sharing information, reflections, analysis, from the political, revolutionary perspectives, geopolitics of the whole thing. So we recorded an interview that we will also share today. So it's maybe 8 minutes long, 5 questions, 5 parts. So let's listen to the piece that we prepared. Rojava has inspired many in anarchist and authoritarian circles in last few years. How does reality there correspond to the revolutionary narrative that we all speak about, and especially to the feminist and direct democratic politics?
I think first and foremost one must realize that Rojava is in a situation of war and a situation of constantly changing international, regional and local alliances. And so what this means is that revolutionary processes, for example, in civil society, are difficult to implement in that people are constantly trying to live their lives day to day. What cannot be disputed is that there have been tremendous gains made by women, especially in the guerrilla and in the structures of the YPJ, and that these separatist institutions, these separate institutions that function by control of women, have been a tremendous advance for women's liberation in the region. So overall, I would say that there have been gains. They are limited due to the circumstances, but as the situation we hope improves in the region, these gains can be solidified and further advanced.
What is the role of anarchism inside the revolutionary process in Rojava now?
Anarchism serves as a theoretical pillar, I think one of many theoretical pillars of the new sort of PKK ideology. We know that Öcalan was inspired by theorists like Murray Bookchin, as well as Emma Goldman and others that he has been reading since the 90s, and especially after his imprisonment. So part of the transition of the PKK's ideology has been towards a more liberatory political project. With that said, of course, it's very difficult to transform a organization that for decades was a Marxist-Leninist organization and a political project that was focused on a Kurdistan that was a state socialist idea. So I think that the anarchist tendency remains one of the most radical, as well as one of the most difficult to achieve, given the context and given the circumstances. But with that said, I think that there are comrades on the ground, and there are many comrades in the guerrilla, as well as of course in the solidarity movement, that are trying to push always the revolution in a more liberatory and anarchist way.
So let's give some attention to the geopolitics of it all. Last year, there was a military campaign against Islamic State in Raqqa province. Their Kurdish revolutionary forces were supported logistically and militarily in a decisive manner by the United States of America, which understatably raised quite a lot of attention in the anarchist discussion. Earlier this year, Turkey used its military might to attack and occupy Afrin, which was one of the central areas of Rojava Revolution. In fact, it was in Afrin that the revolutionary process left the biggest mark. Today, practically the whole of Afrin is under military occupation of Turkey and its proxy military forces, and there are constant threats hanging in the air about new military operations against other parts of Rojava. that still remain under control of Turkish revolutionary forces. So what can be expected in the next step in geopolitical sense?
With Afrin's loss and with now the guerrilla leaving Shengal, it seems that Rojava finds itself without its two sort of endpoints, and this difficulty is further compounded by constantly changing and shifting alliances, as well as mixed signals regarding American troops staying in the north, regarding Russia's role in Syria, Turkey's involvement beyond the sort of Afrin, Olive Branch and Euphrates operations. So what remains now post-Afrin is how can Rojava, the two cantons that are left, be secured, and how can the revolutionary gains sort of be safeguarded given the international situation. Of course, the largest danger is that Turkey will invade Rojava and the two cantons that are left. There is a small portion of the Afrin canton which is still under sort of mixed control, YPG, YPJ, and Assad militias. But what remains to be seen is what the international community will do, especially what America will do if American troops stay in Rojava, or if Americans leave and either Turkey invades or Rojava strikes a deal with Assad and the Russian regime, or they just decide to go on the resistance route. But resistance is quite difficult given the air superiority and capabilities of NATO's second largest army.
In what way anarchism is a part of the revolutionary process in Rojava?
Anarchists and international fighters, of course, are not only part of the resistance, but very much embedded within the Kurdish liberation struggle. And I think now the resistance against Turkish fascism, as well as the imperialist plans, I think that from what I know and from the comrades that are there, that the resistance continues. Internationals, especially anarchists, believe that this is a fight, even though it may not be fully anarchist or, in the way in which we envision the project to be. It is something worth fighting and worth defending, and it is something worth dying for, as many of our comrades have paid the ultimate sacrifice and have become martyrs for this cause. Many of our comrades were in Afrin, others were in the support in various capacities, and I think that right now what needs to happen is a strong level of solidarity and a strong level of support for the internationals that are there, for the revolutionary struggle, because that's the only way that we can hopefully mobilize as much resistance, both outside as well as in Rojava, against the enemies that are knocking on the door.
Let's look to the future now. While throughout the years there were many solidarity campaigns which has intensified during the attack on Afrin, some of them did not really manage to deliver tangible results. Mostly because the situation was very difficult and only goodwill is just not enough. Building on the past experience and deep insight in the complexity of the struggle at this stage, what today seems as the most valuable or efficient way to support freedom in Rojava?
Yeah, it's of course a very difficult question, given that some of the methods of support and the methods of support that comrades have spoken about may be considered anathema to some anarchists, for example. But we have been given sort of recommendations by the Kurdish liberation movement to speak to people in office, to speak to politicians, to write letters, to make videos, to spread information, to publish texts in solidarity, to give literature about the Kurdish liberation movement, about Rojava, about the situation in Northern Syria to the widest possible audience. And I think that right now what needs to happen is there needs to be a campaign that is focused on the gains of the revolution, that is focused on what has gone on these past 5-6 years since even the start of the Syrian conflict and civil war in 2011 with the first protests. What needs to be spoken about is that this region remains a region of stability, a region of liberation in many ways for minorities and for women. And with all of its shortcomings and contradictions, it remains something that I believe still needs to be supported. And this requires a tremendous mobilization and effort by people outside. And that, I think, is the best way we can contribute to the revolution.
This was a comrade that had just come back from Rojava battlefields. We extend support and solidarity from all gathered here in Berlin for this anarchist and anti-authoritarian radio gathering. Our thoughts, our planning is with the needs of fighters in Rojava. We know, of course, that there are many discussions that need to be had about the exact involvement of many there, so we hope that we can continue solidarity efforts throughout the world and connect them with struggles against militarism, nationalism, war across the globe. We know that anarchist perspective is the one that is global and understands the particular battlefields as connected through our desire, through our revolutionary process.
We are at the Bosnian-Croatian border, at the Bosnian side to be precisely, in Velika Kladuša, and we are here with members of the Cars of Hope collective and SOS team Kladuša to build up tents. We first make a wooden frame and then cover that frame with nylon, because a lot of people are arriving here every day and have to sleep in the open air, and it's raining a lot and it's not very warm. So the first thing we do is try to build these tents, and so people are protected from rain. We are building these constructions together with refugees, and it's working very well. We build about 5 to 8 tents per day for families, for everybody who arrives here. And compared to the last time we were here, it was in May last month, the makeshift camp in Velika Kladuša has about doubled, and it's still growing every day.
Family. Tomorrow we start with single.
So 254 for now. 4.
Then we're gonna see how much material we spend on one house, and maybe we're gonna make smaller or bigger so we can use better material, so we don't have cut-offs too many.
Here in the camp you see many people with plaster, and it seems like the Croatian police, when people try to cross the border into Croatia, is targeting at their feet to prevent them from trying to cross the border again. So a lot of people have broken bones and stuff like that. And the day before yesterday, somebody came back from the border and even had a cigarette put it out on his face by a Croatian cop. So the police violence at the border from the Croatian side is getting worse and worse. But that's something which happens in many member states of the European Union nowadays. Everybody is working together here to put up these tents. Well, a lot of people from different countries, but not just volunteers, really also people that live in the camp, and it works quite well. And other people are organizing stuff like clothes, shoes. Many people need shoes here. And a local restaurant opened its doors and is cooking twice a day for people who are living in a makeshift camp and other refugees in Velika Kladuša. And it's not like in many of the state camps that people get food in plastic, but they really are served in a restaurant. Like guests in a normal restaurant are being served. And the owner of the restaurant opened his doors for refugees who are here and there right now, and it's really great to see the solidarity from local people here in Bosnia. Many people are supporting refugees, really a lot of people. And if you know that Bosnia has a pretty weak economy and people don't have that much themselves, it's an astonishing, it's really surprising and great to see what people are doing here. And there are also many families here in the camp, many kids. It's really like a smaller version of Idomeni, but Idomeni also started small and more people arrive every day. So nobody knows how this will develop, especially since the European Union is also starting to put pressure on the Bosnian government to close its borders. Until now, the Bosnian border is open, and it's one of the last remaining states in Europe that did not close the border, which is, of course, the reason that more and more people arrive here. Today, the end of the Ramadan is celebrated, also in the camp. So people also organized a special dinner for people to celebrate the end of Ramadan.
So we are basically building shelters for people. They are 2.5 long, 2 wide meters. From one side 150 and from back side 170. And entrances on, of course, 170.
And it's a wooden framework, right?
Wooden frame, and then we use heavy nylon. And then in August, September, we're gonna put the OSB.
Okay.
Because we don't have money now.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe tomorrow, after tomorrow.
We'll see tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
But if not tomorrow, you are the first.
Yes.
Next day. Then you are first here.
Yes, but I asked you before.
Yeah, I know. But I don't have a list and too many people. Too much people. I'm sorry. It's my fault.
Every day we are making lists of people who arrived just to be able to make a halfway good system that everybody gets a tent. And it's not easy because sometimes we don't have enough material and then people have to wait for 1 or 2 days because the list is pretty long.
Maybe we're gonna build faster and you are maybe not tomorrow, not then, not maybe then he's here. Okay. If you help now, okay. Building, the more we build, the faster is he coming. But it's not, if you build here now, look, no people. So if we build this today, maybe tomorrow for you, or 2 days, not in 3 days.
It's 4 p.m. now, and we finished 2 houses. The third one is also almost finished, and another team is already started to build the fourth and the fifth tent for today. So some people will be able to sleep dry tonight in case it will rain again. And while people continue to build new shelters, Pixie is treating people who are wounded, most of them by Croatian cops, when they tried to cross the border from Bosnia into Croatia. A lot of wounds, especially, as mostly here, on their feet and legs, because Croatian cops are really targeting on feet and legs to make it difficult for people to try it again, to try to cross the border again. And that's something that happens really every day. Every day, new wounded people, new injuries from police violence, day by day. What happened to you with Croatian police?
Croatian police, he kicked me in my nose, problem, and my dish here. Kickboxing me, police, Croatian. Take my money, my phone. Yeah, problem, my friend.
This happens a lot at the border, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not in the border, in the city.
Okay.
Me in Slovenia, 25 kilometers. Me, Slovenia, police take me fighting. Yeah, big problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
It's June 17 today, so we are 4 days here now. During our second stay in Velika Kladuša in Bosnia, and we are building emergency shelters every day, and there is still not one single NGO here, but I would say there are around 12 or 1300 people that are stuck here in Velika Kladuša. On June 19, a mobile team of Doctors Without Borders, MSF, will arrive. So then at least the medical part is covered by MSF. And sometimes Emmaus is coming into the camp to distribute some clothes, but mainly food. But they are not always there. So a lot of work is still done by self-organized groups, like SOS Team Kladuša or No Name Kitchen or Casa of Hope Wuppertal. June 18, we are at the Croatian-Bosnian border right now. Refugees are protesting in front of the border, demanding Croatian authorities to open the border. And at the Croatian side, there are a lot of riot cops with helmets, full gear, shields, batons, everything. But at the moment there's a kind of standoff, and there's a small river in between, and both sides are looking at each other. The standoff is going on for hours and hours now at the Bosnian-Croatian border. And tension is running high now. And on the Croatian side, the cops are really waiting for people to cross. And the Croatian police used a lot of violence this morning, tear gas, batons, everything. A lot of people injured. But there's still a group at the border, not giving up. And the Bosnian side is actually trying to de-escalate all the time. But of course people are furious because of the injured people by violence of the Croatian police.
Very problem now because all the Bosnian people help us, but the people are very many. That's why we have a big problem. We try again, but these people are in the border very strict and they catch him and back. But we want to go forward because 2-3 months now here in Bosnia and 16 months I'm come from all country. Big problem. So we all request them that yesterday they all go to the border, but I think nothing.
Nothing happened. No. They said they're not letting anyone through. What's your plan? I mean, you are now here for a long time. People are helping, but this is probably not what...
No, we are, inshallah, try again, because that's not our position that we stay in Bosnia. Because all people help us, but no work, nothing here in Bosnia. They just help us, but we want to go forward. Italy, France, Germany, because we want to work there. We have a big problem in our country, our home, and now a very serious problem here. Because 3 months I try again, and every time we go to the hills, mountains, 3, 4, 6, 10 days we go, no food, no water, nothing, but and the last police catch him and back to Bosnia or Serbia. That's a very big problem for me and for everyone.
Thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Good luck, thank you so much.
I see that your mobile phone is broken. What happened?
Croatia police scratch border. My mobile in money.
They also use violence? I mean, not just to things, but also to people?
All people, mobile scratch. My mobile, my friend, all mobile is kidnap mobile, pocket. My mobile scratch give me. Okay, money 100 my euro.
Euro, yeah.
Yes. My friend 20 euro, 50 euro, 40 euro, my 100 euro. Croatia police.
And then after they sent you back to Bosnia?
After inshallah, tomorrow, inshallah, try again, Slovenia.
I wish you good luck.
Inshallah.
We will continue our work here with the self-organized groups in Velika Kladuša. If you want to support us with a donation, you can do that by PayPal. Cars of Hope, WTAL, at gmail.com is our PayPal address, but you also find bank account details at cars-of-hope.org/spenden, that's called SPENDEN, and there you will find the banking details. Thank you for listening.
All right, so I'm here at the ZAD outside of Notre-Dame-des-Landes in northwestern France and talking to a couple of people that live here and do media work. Would you care to introduce yourselves for the listening audience?
Hi, my name is Marcel. I'm here for like 6-7 years, and I'm involved in the radio Klaxon, pirate radio of the ZAD.
Hi, my name is Camille, and I'm living in the ZAD since a while, and I used to do a lot of radio before. Now I'm doing less, but still doing. I'm doing other stuff on the ZAD, like collective culture or organizing concert and other things like this.
Would you both talk a little bit about the history of Radio Klaxon and how, like, the roles that it plays in the collective culture and defense of the ZAD?
Well, the radio exists since maybe 2011, and I think we did it for fun before 2012 when the French state tried to evict us. And in 2012 October, the radio played a role of internal communication, saying where are the cops, what's going on, like a message every 10 seconds, what's going on the ZAD. There is 10 vans of cops at this crossroad, a role of self-organization. And it changed a bit when the cops went out in April of 2013, and it changed a lot. Each year, every month, it changes. It depends who is talking on the radio, and it depends of the situation. But yeah.
So at the beginning was kind of a game for like geek people who were kind of, let's do a radio with some bamboo and some metal, and let's do an antenna and broadcast on ZAD, music and jokes. And then later by later starting telling what are the meeting on the ZAD for the week. And then when the eviction came, was so crazy how old people waiting on the barricades or cooking or taking care about the other people were listening to the radio every time to know what's happening and where do people need help and where the cops are, where are controlling people. And
controlling meaning like setting up a blockade and stopping people and checking their IDs and things.
Yeah, stopping people in the car, avoiding people to come on the ZAD. So it started working like it's working now, but in 2012. And also what changes was pretty secret at the beginning, so only people that meet each other really good did radio together, and then it changes in the years and becoming more and more public, with the public space where people can go and talk and participate. And also another thing to say is that from the beginning the idea was to broadcast on the same frequency of Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
So the society was supposed to do the airport, to build the airport, and this society owned most of the airway in France, and they have radio on the airway. So the idea was to
not only like squat the land that they were trying to develop, but also squat the airwaves for their propaganda.
Exactly.
That's pretty awesome.
From 2013 to April of 2018, the idea was also to broadcast some news from the outside, we said, from France to all around the world, because when we live on the ZAD, we do not have a lot of time to read newspapers, to be attentive of what's going on elsewhere. We are self-concentrated on what's going on the ZAD, so we try to broadcast cool things from other radios existing in France or Belgium or Quebec. A lot in French, not so much in English or Spanish.
And it's like important to note that the ZAD doesn't exist within like a bubble, right? It also is a part of this. It's connected with other movements against large infrastructure projects in other places around Europe, right? There's like active networking and solidarity, and not just Europe, I would imagine. Like I know last year there was a big Zapatista art show, and I think discussion after I left that I didn't get to witness.
There's also some people fighting against nuclear garbage, we said, in east of France, near Bure, and they do some radio broadcast also, so we can exchange some audios. It's a cool thing.
So since that, like going back to the prior evictions, it seems like the radio was serving a really good popular method of informing people of police movements in order to get around them, and also something that the police maybe could listen to. But why were the police able to ever shut down the airwaves?
I think they can do it, but I think they never tried. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think they could do it and they did not.
Maybe it's interesting for them also to listen what happened. I think there are people from the police that are listening to Radio Klaxon since 5 years and writing lots of things. And there's a movie. You remember to me a movie, an Italian movie, that talks about Radio Alice. Was a pirate radio in the 70s in Bologna, and there's a cops, the character in the movie. he's always listening to the radio and writing everything they say, and then he kind of get in love with the radio, so to the 70s music and dancing. Maybe cops here are listening. There are some of them that are listening to Radio Klaxon every day, and maybe it's useful for them to have some information.
Over the years, cell phones and smartphones have become more available at lower prices, and people have developed end-to-end encryption, and mobile network access has become less expensive. And so I would imagine that people probably do some of the organizing that used to be just on the radio over these like cell loops or whatever. Can you talk about, like, outside of just the organizing and where the police are, and also outside of the ear range of the police, can you talk about some of the cultural roles that the station plays on the ZAD, like besides bringing in news from the outside world?
Mobile phones are a good tool because for now we can encrypt it, a lot of things like this, but there are also a lot of people who do not want to have cell phones, and when it's a bit complicated with a lot of cops who just let their cell phones at home, so it's easier to get a radio. It's not non-nominative, so you can have it. And you can, if there's a lot of people in your space, you can let a big stereo sound system broadcasting the radio, and everyone can hear it. It's not just individually you listen your cell phone. So I think it's easier, more common to listen to the radio than checking your signal mobile phone every second.
And also there's a lot of people in the ZAD that decided not to have a cell phone, not to have a credit card, not to live without electricity, and this is a way to permit them to have the information, because as everywhere, even now, even on the ZAD now, a lot of people are communicating with cell phones and smartphones, but a lot of people don't have, so it's a way to give information also to other people.
But maybe we can say the radio is the way of communication of the poorest of the ZAD, and there is another part of the ZAD checking the website and talking on signal list. It's maybe some kind of splitting the people living here.
And maybe we can also say, I don't know if it's in the question, but we can say also that the radio permit people that don't feel comfortable in writing text or speaking in front of a big assembly, to come and to talk to the microphone and to give their opinion about what's happening here, about the struggle, about other things. And this is also the political line of the radio, what was always pushed from the radio, like invite people that don't have so much place in the struggle to come and to talk. So the people that are writing for the website and people that are coming at the radio talking in the microphone, that are really not the same people.
And there's regular session, besides specific programs, can you talk about the regular sessions when the station is open to people in the community to come and speak, and what sort of things get expressed on there?
Last month radio was settled in a bus, so we begin to do weekly an evening or an afternoon called the open bus. So it means everyone can come and speak on the microphone, and we managed to do it weekly, like a day a week.
Yeah, and people are coming, sharing a book, sharing some poetry they read or they wrote, and singing, because there's a hip hop workshop that happen every week on the ZAD, so This is a real way for people that don't feel comfortable with talking in front of other people to express themselves, and they came at the radio also, doing what they did in the workshop and reading their text.
It's pretty cool. At that point, they're basically like performing without having to look people in the eyes. So then later they like have done that. They go home and someone can be like, "Oh wow, like I heard you on the radio. This is and give feedback without having to have that frozen moment of, oh, other people are looking at me right now."
Yeah, that's a cool thing with the radio. You can hide your face, and we did before to talk to journalists in front of camera with some mask, but for some reasons people talking to the media stop this habitus.
So more recently there were a round of evictions in early April that the French state enacted on the ZAD. And can you all talk about what the role of the radio was during that, and how Klaxon decided to take the actions that it did in terms of actively working to resist eviction?
Since the beginning of April, when the cops came, we try to inform the people where are the cops, and they stay here like all day long for 1 month. So the radio looks like at 10:30 there are 10 vans of cops at the crossroad of the RDR. Be careful if you need to cross this crossroad. All day long it's like this. And we try also to speak to the people on the ZAD about politics, to read some text, because sometimes if you read the website of the ZAD, nadir.org, it's some text speaking to the French state, speaking to we don't know who, and sometimes it's difficult to, from the outside, to understand what people are fighting for, because the text on the website or on the Twitter or Facebook, I don't know, are just like it's often some text speaking to the prefecture, not to the support we can get outside. So with the radio it's a bit difficult, because on one end we speak to the people listening on the ZAD, we speak to the people supporting us, listening in Paris, in I don't know, in some towns in France or in US, and so we try to broadcast some voices you cannot find elsewhere. Well, it's a mix of all that, because there's a lot of meetings also, like every day, and you cannot follow what's going on the ZAD if you are a monster and you do not sleep and you like a lot meetings. You need to listen compte rendu.
Continuously.
Continuously what was going on the day before at the meeting of our General Assembly.
So to a degree, the people at Klaxon take an editorial stance or make an editorial decision as a collective, and not just as the loudspeaker for the ZAD.
Radio Klaxon is maybe the only way of communication, speaking to the outside of the ZAD, we say. We decided to do not hide the internal conflicts like other way of communication we have, like the website, the group press, or others decide to hide some conflicts because they said it's weakness. Yeah, for people in the radio, we think it straightens to show the internal conflicts, the political divisions we have, and it's important to do not hide it, because if we lie to ourselves, if we lie to people who support us, at the end we just lose, like in in a lie, in a miss, and it's finished. Yeah. Theoretical debate we have, and we disagree.
To sort of belabor the point, or like push on the point a little bit more, because the station specifically makes space for people who feel more comfortable verbally expressing about conflicts or verbally expressing their opinions, as opposed to like writing an essay and submitting it to the editorial staff of the website or whatever. Is there like, can you talk a little bit about how class and gender maybe, or immigration status, like if you're a native French speaker, how that complicates one's ability to make arguments and contribute to dialogue and debate of the movement, and how what you're trying to do, how that engages with those difficulties?
I'm surprised about how easy it's to speak to a microphone, easier than writing a text. There's a lot of people who just cannot do it. The workshop of hip-hop they do every week is a very good thing for this, to just have a theme, like a word, and people just sit for 2 hours writing for a song. It's a good thing, but it's maybe if you read like 10 texts on the website of the ZAD, it's maybe 2 or 3 people who wrote it. It's always the same people doing it. If you want to speak in General Assembly, it's so hard to do it. And moreover, if you want to say, I disagree with these things, maybe I get doubts. It's very, very hard. Last month, I saw some situations where when just people say, hey, shut up, things like this. So it was with a lot of tension. So the radio can afford something to just be peaceful in the field in the sunny afternoon, and you get a microphone, dictaphone, recorder, and you take your time to just speak and say what you want. And a lot of people can hear you, and they have no choice to hear you because it will speak in your kitchen on your radio. And that's why there are also a lot of people who told us, yeah, I do not listen anymore Radio Klaxon because it just criticizes what people is doing on the ZAD. It means what the chief are doing on the ZAD. I will try to do not attack too much.
But it can sometimes, besides it being a central point that broadcasts outward and everyone has to listen to it, that can be a very dictatorial thing. Yeah. As a tool that was like a tool of all of the regimes during World War II, that was very important, to Hitler coming to power, to Mussolini giving speeches, to Stalin addressing the people, to Churchill and Roosevelt addressing the united peoples that they were representing. Whether or not you agree with what their political perspective was, it's one central point broadcasts outward for everyone to receive the word and hear the word. It's a very monologuing thing. But with a decentralized network like Klaxon, or like process where it's open to the community, it seems like that could allow for uninterrupted people getting to voice their heart and say what concerns they have without getting shouted down, like you say. That's really powerful.
We do it like now because there's a lot of people who just cannot speak in General Assembly, or when they try to speak, just people shut their mouths.
Yeah.
So I think last month we have a vision like the radio must be a counterpower, so we had the mission to emphasize some voices. Sometimes we disagree, sometimes I don't know what to think about, but these voices are not listened, so we need to help them. So it's like another story of the ZAD you can listen on Radio Klaxon, and it could look like very different from what you can read on the website. You have to get your ID. You can read the website, listen to the radio, and doing a mix of all.
During the latest rounds of evictions, I was paying way too much attention on my phone. I was sitting at home and like listening over the online stream, and also looking at Twitter and trying to follow all the videos of the evictions. It was very late night. I was getting very upset. But it's pretty awesome that y'all can actually broadcast worldwide. I can't speak French. I can understand a little bit of it, but it's great that you were able to offer that tool in like such a crisis moment. Do you get much feedback from outside of the ZAD, of people who listen to it over the internet? And what's that like?
Yeah, every day in April there were like 800 people listening the radio on the streaming. And we received a lot of emails like, I'm at work, I'm listening to Radio Klaxon, I would like to be with you, I follow you, I support you, courage and strength, things like that. And a lot of message of support from Spain and a lot of country. We need to translate, but it was in audio. There's a lot of images you can see on the internet, on YouTube, but it doesn't say a lot. It's just like riot porn, we said. So when you listen to the radio, it's more. If you listen 5 minutes, you get nothing. You just get the 5 minutes you listen. So you need to be here like 1 hour, 2 hours a day to understand some things. And we try to do like a resume. Like at 10 in the morning and at 8 in the evening.
A resume, like a review.
Summarize a review of the day. Before the cops came in April, we were more open group. People can be involved like 1 day a month. But since the 10th of April, we are more like a submarine, like more
closed.
Like more closed and hidden, so it's more little team who manage it. But we would like to be. We do again open bus and to be open at least a day a week, 1 day a week. But it's because it's more peaceful for now. Maybe next week it will be again more hidden, because we need to move, we need to be protected from the cops, and etc.
Are there other movement media projects that personally inspire you, or that inspire people at the station that you're aware of, like the Radio Notav, or like any projects in like Dijon or Rennes or anything like that?
I remember an episode when I was in Italy, when one guy fell down from an electric pylon, and I was in Italy and we were all listening Radio Blackout, and this was direct, and people say cops try to evict the house. I don't remember the name, and this guy climbed up and cops try to catch him and he fall down. We are looking for more infos. If you get some infos, call us. It was like live direct like this, and it reminds me the ZAD, like you just cannot go elsewhere. You just listen to the radio waiting for more more and more, and you wait. And I think Radio Blackout gives me this feeling of I need to be listening to the radio, but I need to go there. So I went there, listening to the radio on the car.
There's a term in the United States among people that do radio of driveway moments. It's when people are driving in their car and they sit in their car in their driveway and they don't get out because they're so glued to the station. So that's kind of more like a highway moment, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like you get out of your driveway and drive down the highway to go.
But people on the highway just can hear us like for 15 minutes from, because we broadcast. If you listen us on the
stream,
no, the inverse, FM.
Oh yeah, FM.
If you hear us on the FM on the highway, you can get to Radio Klaxon for 10 minutes, or if you stop, you can listen it longer. But and there is the info on your radio. It's no more Radio Vinci, it's Radio Klaxon squat les ondes de Vinci. Radio Klaxon is squatting the waves of the company. Vinci.
That's what comes up on the digital output on people's
Yeah.
consoles. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's like a sabotage. Yeah.
Besides the support of people during evictions, are there any moments that you can personally, Marcel, that you can think of for you that sort of encapsulate like why you get excited about working with Klaxon? Are there any, like somebody came in during open bus and like said this thing, or concerts you've recorded, or words of support from outside, anything?
The thing I prefer is messages of support and reading it, or people calling and they can speak in live on the radio. This kind of thing where when we are hidden and when it's like more open bus and everyone can come to the radio. It's when people, it's just their first time, they get the microphone and they are timid and they don't know what to say, and they begin one word, two words. And this, in fact, in this time of evictions, it's also easy to do it for the first time because you know what to say. You just receive a lot of infos. There are some cops there, there are some cops there, there is a meeting point at 5 at somewhere, and you have to say it on the microphone, and you just don't ask 1,000 of questions, you just say it. Well, you have to do a mix of everything, false infos, all that shit, but it's so intense, you go and you do it, you hesitate for the first minute and then you go. I like this kind of moment.
I imagine someone else listening and hearing like their friend or their loved one like just like on the radio suddenly announcing their thing, and like, this person, they're coming through my kitchen, this is great.
I cried when I received some audios of support from some friends in far away, and they just send 1 or 2 minutes of audio just to, we listen you, we are with you. It was so, wow, so great. It's so strong, this hearing some voices like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very bad speaking on telephone, on mobile phone, but with the radio it's easy. Yeah.
Well, I guess how can anyone that's excited about pirate radio and the role of media and movement, like, are there any resources? How can they learn more? Are there any resources that you'd point them to in terms of like technical things, or like websites or books, or because this is the kind of thing that could get reproduced somewhere else, it would be different, right? But
the easiest way to do pirate radio is to get some money, like $200, and you can buy a transmitter and an antenna made in China, and you go. Maybe you read some website about how to accord your antenna. I don't know if it's like a guitar. To tune it,
yeah,
and you can go. But if you do it alone, I think it's a bit annoying. That's more funny to do it collectively. And if you are in a DIY dynamic, you can learn with. There's a lot of people doing it since the 70s, 80s, to build yourself your transmitter, your antenna. The antenna is the easiest thing to do. And you go. But there's also nowadays in France a lot of people just doing radio on the internet. It's not so pirate radio, but for some people it's the easiest way to do it.
Mhm.
Like they did it during Nuit debout in France, where a lot of people squatted big public spaces in France. You need a smartphone, internet, computer, a microphone, and you go. It was also a good way to do it. But we like the FM here. So we continue to squat the waves of Vinci.
Hmm? So can people can go to zad.nadir.org and get Klaxon stream?
Yeah, correct.
Parfait. Well, merci beaucoup.
De rien.
To find past episodes of The Final Straw, you can subscribe to us in your favorite podcatching device or visit the website thefinalstrawradio.noblogs.org for 8 years of free audio. If you'd like to hear us on your local radio airwaves, contact your community radio station and tell them to check out the radio tab on our website. Or you can reach us via thefinalstrawradio@riseup.net and we'll try to help in the process. We are up on the most obnoxious social media platforms and can easily be shared after we air. Finally, if you appreciate the work that we do, please consider a one-time donation via PayPal or, better yet, a recurring one via Patreon. If you visit our website and click on the Donate tab, there are instructions there, or you can visit patreon.com/TFSR. All of our content is free, but $1 or more a month can be very helpful to keep us going. Plus, there are some pretty awesome thank yous available.